Hello, everybody. I hope I'm audible. Oh, well, my name's Mike, and this is Jan. This is Jan.
That's
could
the
go
intro,
the
is it?
outtakes. That is the intro, yes.
It's going in the outtakes.
Oh, you're loud. Let me turn you down.
Oh, yes, sir.
Hopefully everybody can hear me and everybody can hear Jan. I have just set up everything again, so there is the potential for a little bit of calamity.
I mean, it has been 6 months.
True. And I have actually reinstalled Windows for the first time in a while. Hello, Roderick. Hello, Daz.
Hello, Daz. Hello, Roderick. Hello, everybody. How is everyone? Except for my cat. My cat is sleepy. How are you, Michael?
I'm very good. I haven't even got the agenda open. I'm going to do that because I'm so well prepared.
Right, we have one of those. I'm going to close mine. It's much more interesting. Hello, Atomi. Because then I could just follow your lead.
Follow my lead.
Uh-huh.
So we'll just wait for a few more people to drop in. There's always some people dropping in just past. And what I'll also do for the moment is I'm going to go say, hey, we're live over on the Discord as well.
Louder and clearer than Roderick remembers. Good job. I mean, the memory does play tricks like that.
Although there have been some pretty disastrous streams.
There have been some great ones. For some reason, I'm sounding much croakier, and I'm a little self-conscious. It's been 6 months since I saw myself on camera. I'm feeling a bit like Jabba's pet potato.
I don't know that character. Which Star Wars is that from?
It's from The Spud Strikes Back.
Oh, that's fine. You're famous.
With a Sid James laugh, apparently.
Perfect. Right, let me make this larger because my old eyes aren't what they used to be. Hopefully the stream should be nice and clear as well. Earlier on I was streaming, I was like, why does it look like an actual potato? And it turned out I was streaming at like 480p. I mean, great for people with low bandwidth, but we were fuzzy. Very
Plus,
fuzzy.
my internet is actually faster than last time we did this. That's pretty good.
Yes, you're a lot clearer.
Spud 6. No notes. That was perfect.
Okay, so we'll crack on with the live stream. We're only going to be live for as long as we need to, usually about an hour or so. And we will put this VOD, as they say, up on the
Hey,
video
Vertex, how are you? And
hey.
Pacos.
We'll pop this up on the channel as well. And if I get round to it, I'll cut it up into smaller, funnier chunks for those with a smaller...
funnier mind.
Yeah. Attention span. Sorry, my brain is a bit slow. It's halfway through the week already.
Way more coffee. Is it? It's Monday, isn't it?
That's what I said. Halfway through the week.
So where are we starting, Michael?
Well, I've got a note here to start with a joke that this is our mid-year stream and it's a month late, just like our Welcome to 2024 stream.
I know, we did great, didn't we? We started off with, we're going to do one of these every month. And it turned into give or take 6, like with a 500, 600% margin of error. You know,
it's fine. So we'll get to more about communication further down because we've got some plans on how to smooth that out, especially as
it's got a whole written thing, an agenda.
Live stream agenda. So we want to first talk to you, Jan.
Yes, apparently we do. So a health update, because as you know, the big delay in particularly the Godot recordings has been my brain stopped working, which meant I stopped working. And I've been actively seeking and trying to get and receiving some treatments since November 2021, which has been quite a long road. And I've recently finished the latest round of interpersonal therapy, and they're pushing me back up the chain to try and get to a specialist, possibly a psychiatrist. We don't know yet, so I'm going to wait for them. But when Michael asked me, if you want to, like, how would you describe how your health is right now? My first response was, Gah!
I'm glad I turned you down.
Yeah, you can do that. It may be a bit more descriptive. So how's things going? Things are sort of pootling along. Like, I'm making sure that where possible, I hang out with Mikey at least once a week and get some work done there. So I've got some socializing. We have our regular weekend games.
That's been going pretty well, hasn't it? The coming around every Wednesday. There have been a few times that it's not been possible, mainly my side.
Illness, school schedules. So there's been a couple of mine too. Like, there's just been times when we can't do it. But yeah, it's tricky. When your brain stops working, it is very difficult to sort of keep that rhythm going.
Hi, Mick.
Hello, Mick. One thing I would say is if you find yourself struggling with your mental health, whether it's through depression or PTSD or any of a myriad of other ways the brain can go wrong, don't succumb to that shame that you can feel for it. Reach out to a specialist, get help. It's actually no different from like diabetes or chronic pain or your arm being broken. Something is wrong with your body. Speak to a specialist to do it. Unfortunately, with the state of healthcare over the past 15 years or so in this country, the waiting lists are bad. Like that's just what it is. But I'm being patient and I'm sticking with it and working through it.
Yeah, so, we've been in a position where poor Jan here has literally looped round the system once because
I mean
that was frustrating for
me.
About
a year ago, I got through my interpersonal therapy training, which was very helpful. Actually, it really helped me sort of open up and do a lot of what in education we call metacognition, and in therapy they call reflection. But basically, sort of looking at the way my mind's working, going, okay, so I'm not yet at the stage where I can change it, but I understand where the wiring is broken. So let's look at that. So my therapist, a really lovely Scottish man with an accent I can barely understand, who I think his name was Chris. And I won't do a Scottish accent because Daz is in the call. Very painful. It was all like, I don't think I'm actually qualified to help you, but and I'm not able to give you a diagnosis, but it sounds like you might have complex PTSD. I want to put you up the chain. It's like, yeah, great, put me up the chain. So they sent the letter. I didn't get the letter till it was too late, and I missed the appointment. I wrote to them, and they said, okay, fine, we'll give you a different appointment. They did an intake. They say, yeah, it sounds pretty clear cut. We'll let you know tomorrow. A month later, I got a letter saying that they were discharging me back to the community because the pressure on mental health was so high. And if I didn't like it, that's okay. I was free to reapply, which meant I had to start the entire process again. So that was a little tricky. And it for a little while, I was much worse than I had been because it just felt like, what was all that effort for? However, we're now at the stage where I've just finished the latest round of interpersonal therapy. This therapist was a lot funnier. He had one of the best verbal tics I've ever heard. I don't want to speak badly of the guy. I'm not going to name him. But he had a habit of saying, okay to do that or to do that randomly in sentences. So the last time I spoke to him, he's like, so how you doing, Jan? Like, oh, I'm poodling along. Oh, bless you to do that. I'm like, what? It's 8 o'clock in the morning and I've got a cup of coffee that I haven't started yet. Don't do that to my brain. But anyway, he was very friendly and so on. So they just pushed me up the chain and we'll see what happens there. But I'm sticking with it. Prakash, I do appreciate the step-by-step. You're in no rush. I am also aware that for some people, either they haven't been following the things or like they don't understand what a mental health crisis is. They just want the content they paid for. And I get it. Like it's I understand. And it's, believe me, if anyone is disappointed and upset about it, it's me. Like when my brain works, I'm hyper competent. And when it doesn't, I don't go outside. Like Mikey has to be like, come out and play.
Not sure. Next time I'm going to shout that out the window when I come to pick you up.
Let's pull up outside the neighbours who already look at you weird.
Come and play.
Just lean out the window. Come and play.
I'll make sure I come in the village the other side so I can you have to walk around the car.
To do that, yeah. Bless you to do that.
To do that.
Oh, it's okay to do that, yeah. But it's not like, I when you say something like, I'm really blaming myself. Oh, it's okay to do that. Like that I would understand. It's a weird thing to say, but I understand randomly to do that.
Perhaps it works in general with just the filler.
Yeah, that's how verbal tics go. Like whenever I'm recording, the amount of times I have to remove the words, okay, so from my recordings. I leave a couple in, but it's a verbal tic. Like I'm not aware when I'm speaking, but it happens.
And it's often a filler during transition, right? So, and your eyes are looking for that thing on the screen before you move your mouse there.
Your brain is making the connection to the next thing. It's interesting because every language I've ever learned has their own filler words, like Japanese is ano, stuff like that.
Isn't that called sleep?
Yes. So I've actually reacted very badly to this, and it's interesting because I am somewhere between, and we don't have an official diagnosis on the latter bit, but we certainly have chronic depression and complex PTSD. And the latter, we don't have an actual diagnosis for yet because the specialist who will be able to diagnose me hasn't seen me. What it means is if I can distract myself, I'm fine. But the moment I'm in my own brain, in my own moment, I really struggle. So back in January, they had me on remote cognitive behavioral therapy, which I don't know why you would do that remotely. Like you just go through a bunch of forms and do it yourself, and then at the end of the week, someone goes through your forms, and
Right.
it felt very distracting, but it didn't work for me. But anyway, there was a meditation section that I followed, and it gave me such a panic attack. So it's interesting. It's trying to find the way in. My traditional way of dealing with this was to go to the gym. When I was 30, I was going through a very bad time, and I decided what I was going through wasn't survivable, so let's become something else. And I picked this impossible goal. I was going to move to the United States and legally work there. And in order to do that, I'd have to change everything about myself. So I did. And the first thing I did is I went to the gym. I was 30 years old. I was working for a company that gave me a gym discount in London. So I went to there. And within a few weeks, I was going 5-6 days a week for an hour a day. And I mean, on the one hand, I became ridiculously swole to the point that my arms wouldn't fit my t-shirts, but that wasn't the point. It was a sense of control and endorphins and all the other things, and it gave me the energy to do that. I am now 48. I have gout in both feet, and I have weird cysts in this arm and in this hand. I can't exercise without random pain. So going to the gym means at any point I might fall off the machine. So I don't trust myself there. So the techniques I used to, or when I was 20, I'd go moshing. I'd just hold the center of a mosh pit every Friday in the clubs, right? Just be a pit demon. It was amazing. I'm not being 48 in a mosh pit.
If you do ever decide, let me know, because that can go in the outtakes.
But anyway, I do appreciate the suggestions and the kind thoughts and the patience and all the rest of it. And for those of you who are just frustrated, I also understand that. Like, I get it. Believe me, I do. Not trying to take the piss. I'm trying to do the work I can do. I'm on something called limited capacity for work, which is the government says I'm physically able to work for a set amount of hours per week, and then my brain just won't do it anymore. And there was a whole thing to get that. But I'm doing what I can. And part of that is going to Mikey's once a week, and we can talk about that in a bit, and doing some recording at his place just for the going to a separate environment to work is a good thing. But I can only do that for a short amount of time. Then my brain is just like, okay, let's go.
I'm too overwhelming.
Like there's too many people.
I'm like, oh, a friend has come over to play.
Right. That bit I'm great with. It's just work. And then when I can, I just sit down and do some editing. But after all, my brain's just like, I have to stop. Like I can't focus, I think. And I want to get past that because I miss, like, before I moved back to the UK, I was a professor at 2 colleges. I was teaching English to kids in China online. I wasn't commuting. And I was also recording board game videos for Game Dev TV at the time. Like, I was working 4 jobs, and I was perfectly capable of doing that, right? I was working 7 days a week. I was commuting 3 hours a day, and I could do that. And now I'm like, maybe I'll go to the shop today and buy some food. It's a real thing. And part of that is just understanding brain is just hurt. It isn't in a position where it's healed yet. Stop feeling bad about yourself as a human being, because it doesn't actually help. So yeah, if you find yourself in a situation like that, 1, find people who understand. 2, you're not alone. 3, reach out, get help. There's no shame in it. How we do? Did I cover that section?
Yep.
Fantastic.
Okay. So thanks, Jan. It's really good for you to open up, and this sort of thing isn't easy. So thanks for communicating.
I've actually found it's easier to be as open about it as possible. I've discovered this last year or so when we were talking to the DWP, the Department of Work and Pensions. If I'm open and tell people what is actually happening, and if they need to know why it's happening and all the rest of it, they can understand and they can give me patience and help and all the rest of it. Whereas if I just tell them I'm a bit depressed, people are just like, get to work. Like, stop sitting around the place and get out of your pajamas and do some work. Like, if you're in a situation where you need help, people can't see inside your brain. So you need to unpack what's happening.
Yeah. So I think the next thing we'll move on to then is some status updates on where we are with various courses and things like that. And we'll start with the one that Jan's working on at the moment, which is the Godot for Everyone bundle. And so at the moment, correct me if I'm wrong, we've got the first and second sections are completely done.
I'm editing the last. I mean, they're completely recorded. I'm editing the last video of the second section, which was I don't know what I was thinking when I was recording it, but it's taking like 2 days to edit this thing. Like this is one of the worst pieces of editing I've ever done. And we're about 2 videos into the final section.
Yeah. So this is the third course, Spooky Bricks. I'm with it coming up to the editing of the final stuff. I'm going to be putting it live next week, so anybody who's already bought the course can start working through it. So the final section of Spooky Bricks is in editing. That's what Jan was referring to there. And then there's 3 courses to come after that, and we'll be venturing into the 3D realm at some point in that.
The next one, it'll be to kick about.
Oh, nice.
Some plans for that. Hello, Golgamoth, Golomagoth. There's a goth in there that makes the
Golomogoth.
So at first, I read that as Gilgamesh. It's like, no, it's not Gilgamesh.
No, it's Golomogoth.
Golomagoth. That's a good name. I like it. It's hard in my old eyes, but you're good. That's what's good.
Yeah.
Yeah, and Spooky Bricks is coming along quite nicely, and we even have.
It's fun to play. I think
so.
That's
for the first time, I've actually started keeping the outtakes. We actually have an outtake compilation that we'll show you at some point.
So stay to the end of the video so you can watch the outtakes because
I was going to see if I could sneak it in now and you weren't ready, but no. Okay, we'll do it at the end.
Yeah. So we'll actually sign off and then we'll just leave that playing for you guys to watch. It's features me in it as sound effects as well. Thanks, Jan.
Go low, my goth. Go low. That's how you get a goth to win a limbo competition.
No.
You say that. There is a song called Summer Goth, which is entirely about a goth who likes sunshine and margaritas and heavy metal.
And dresses in white? I don't know.
I mean, he's a goth. Like, let's not be silly, Michael.
Okay. My bad. See,
all right.
Pulling it back. So the Godot for Everyone course is the one being focused on at the moment. I say course, bundle. It's got 6 courses in it. The next thing is the update on the action RPG.
Yep.
So, first of all, thank you for everybody sticking with us, even though it's been slow coming out. I do want to express our gratitude for that because we could just be being hounded all the time at the moment, and you guys have shown us nothing but patience, which we are very grateful for. And so, I almost see this like a debt to everybody who's basically backed us for the action RPG. And there are typically 2 ways of fulfillment. You've either got the sort of like start on the thing that everybody's, where's the Godot content? Where's the Godot content? I've been fielding lots of questions about where's the Godot content for the action RPG. And there's also a thing focusing on things like what they call the snowball method, where you start on the little things that need doing and build up. And basically, the Godot part of it is we're not going to suddenly say to Jan, right, you've got to stop this thing and switch over here. The Godot part of the action RPG is basically going to be delayed until the Godot for Everyone bundle is done.
Right.
And although progress on everything is slower as desired, as we've discussed, there's progress here. We're churning through it and we're getting through all of that. So what I've decided to do, because I don't want to put the pressure on Jan and keep saying, oh, could you quickly test this? Oh, could you quickly test this? I'm going to start working through all of the remaining courses where I can and focusing on those smaller courses first. And when I say smaller courses, they're the ones that I feel are going to be the quickest to get out. And this is where the snowball effect comes in. Right. So we first start with those more simple courses and just progress up to the more complex ones. And this approach should hopefully help us release the courses quicker, which is what we want ultimately. So you can start taking them and getting value from the
question here from Atomi, which plugs into that.
I'm about to say that.
Atomi.
Yeah. So we've got a rough roadmap, future plans, not necessarily the dates. I do actually want to start on progress to that. So we'll get to that question. Hopefully we'll answer it as we go through here. One of the things that I will say at this point is there's likely, try my best to avoid it, and it's probably only going to be the last part of any particular course, is there's likely, because there won't be immediate feedback, there might be things we need to come back to and revisit once Jan gets his teeth into the actual Godot stuff.
Smaller courses like adding a massively multiplayer mode.
No, like that's called scope creep.
That's called wake up with the screaming nightmares.
Back to that again. Yep. So, I mean that actually segues Atomy's question into what's next and when. So, what I'm going to do is provide updates every 2 weeks. I think that's a good in between, where a week is just too soon. I don't want to just update and say, well, I've recorded some stuff, because that doesn't mean anything. I want to say I've recorded some stuff, it's now in editing, and it'll be released on X date. So what I'm not going to bore you with this. I'll actually make the first blog post at some point this week, and I'll just list the order that I wish to do things in, so you know what's coming, but not necessarily when, until I get the ball rolling with everything on that front. So I'll be posting every 2 weeks in the Discord and on a blog, probably on the website itself, and I'll make sure the link for that is available to people.
And as for the Godot stuff, I won't be starting that until I've got the last of Godot for Everyone out the way. Michael pointed out a few months back that doing both at the same time just wasn't realistic. And jumping back and forth meant that I'd constantly be having to shift gears. Whereas focusing on one, finishing that, focusing on the next, people would actually see this progress being made and the rest of it. I do really want to get back to the Godot Action RPG because I really love that project. It's a lot of fun. We did some great stuff for the prototype, and I'm looking forward to seeing what we can do this time around. But realistically, the roadmap of finish Spooky Bricks, pick up some speed, hopefully go into Tukey Kickabout, next 2 3D games, which I forget what they are offhand, and then move into brand new territory.
Now, if I just can get to the right page, I'll give you a rough overview of what I believe is going to be next. It's not a final thing yet because I still need to double check. So the first course that will be coming out will be the Making Modular Dungeons. So that'll basically be all the level pieces.
And that's in Blender.
Yeah, that'll just be in Blender. And we'll be talking about in detail which modular system we're using, because modularity means an absolute ton of things. It basically means we'll fit together.
When I do get to that part in Godot, is probably going to be the first thing we do in Godot as well.
Yeah.
Procedure generating these areas is
in my mind, I'm focusing on the ones that I think I can get out, not necessarily the quickest, but the ones that are in my head at the moment, and certainly those are the ones that are important for the beginning of what Jan's doing as well. So hopefully those will align, and they might all be done by the time Jan actually starts, in which case it'll be trying to make sure that the import process and everything else is nice and smooth, and if there's any bugs, that'll be a great learning experience anyway. So I can literally add a section. Hey guys, welcome back. We're now starting the process of bringing these into Godot, and we found there are a few things we need to change. And make sure that's all in there. After that, I've got creating nature in Blender. So this is the start of the outdoors environments. And have I got an actual list for the rest? Probably not. This is good TV as I scroll up and down.
Welcome to Mikey Hums.
So nature and outdoors. And I want to go through a bit of procedural nature as well.
Oh,
so that's going to be its own separate course, because I want to distinguish the traditional modeling from the procedural stuff. And then we're actually going to go on to the character. So we're going to go through some character modeling, and then the fun stuff with rigging and animation. Then,
excellent question, Vertex. Realistic or stylized nature?
It's going to be stylized.
We made a decision very early on to give it a very stylized, not low poly, but vertexy, I guess would be the way of putting it. Like it cartoonish. We're not necessarily, because low poly is both an aesthetic and design requirement, right?
And it's changed over the years. The original Tomb Raider's low poly, but you wouldn't release something like that these days and really call it low poly. It's like
right. So low poly as an aesthetic, not low poly as a design brief. But let's go with vertexy or cartoonish or something like that.
Yeah.
But yeah, lots of very stylized angles, a very limited palette, although we'll do that bit in Godot. And yeah.
In fact,
So
one thing we
style it.
discovered when making the skeleton characters is that even if you make it low poly, if you still want some definition there and it's all geometry, it's not a low poly a character anymore. It's in the just shy of 12,000, I think that particular character was, and it wasn't a detailed character. It was very low poly but high poly at the same time. Right. And so some stylistic choices, like maybe not having 13 ribs, for instance, might be a good idea, because you can still get the effect with 3 or 4.
And yes, Vertexy was picked on purpose. Vertex. Yeah, and it's a stylistic choice rather than a technical necessity. But yeah, hopefully that answers that.
Yeah, so we're not using in this particular course a lot of texturing. So the detail...
No, it's flat texture.
Yeah, so the detail does come from the
However,
the modeling
we did
itself.
realize when we moved from Godot 3 to 4, the Godot 4, if you want the lighting and shadows to work correctly, you have to have the model properly UV unwrapped.
Yes.
Because what we were doing in 3 was we won't bother UV unwrapping. I made a bunch of test things. I made them, so they weren't properly made. So I didn't bother UV unwrapping them because it's just a flat color anyway. So
it wasn't, no issues.
And in 3, it was great. And then we put them in 4, it's like none of the light and shadow works.
Yeah. It needs that UV. Even if it's just a generated UV map, it still needs that. One other thing that I do want to touch on that I've just gone down this list and I've spotted is progress on the soundtrack is still ongoing at the moment. I've actually just been tinkering away on the background. And so I'll find a way of trying to show maybe excerpts from those pieces as they've generated. I haven't really found a way of doing it without, just basically posting an MP3 on the Discord or something along those lines.
Right.
So I'm still looking at a good way of presenting that so you guys can hear what's going on. And I might include a sort of a vlog style video of a couple of the pieces. That might be a good way of sharing it, I think.
Yeah. I mean, in fairness, Golomagoth, the PS1 and Dreamcast graphics, when they were good, like the original Wipeout.
Oh, let's not forget that they didn't have the precision, so the vertex actually moved each frame from its actual position, and that's why you get that kind of shimmery wobbling effect with the old PS1 graphics. It just didn't have... was it a 16 32-bit system?
I remember in the late 80s, early 90s, all of the video game magazines, which were a thing at the time, constantly obsessed with photorealistic graphics. Like, that's the golden thing. That's the holy grail. That's what we want. And we get to the point where that's more or less possible with like countless Call of Duties and Battlefields and Skyrim Super Ooper Duper Special Limited Editions. And suddenly there's an influx of there's a huge glut of pixel art, low poly, retro looking games. Partly because some designers are like, well, I want to just make this by myself and I can't hire a team of 500 people. And partly because people are just like, actually, maybe the graphics wasn't the entire point of the game. Like,
nah.
So it's interesting. I've always felt realism is a style, not a goal.
Yeah, and remember, AAA just means you've got a big budget. And quadruple A means you're lying and it's actually double A.
Shots fired.
Yes, from my pirate ship.
Uh-huh.
That looks better on my screen than it will on yours.
I took one look at that game. I was like, I don't think I want to play this.
It was entertaining. The ship play was okay. But it didn't keep me engaged. Skull and Bones is the reference we got. It did get me back into playing Sea of Thieves with the children for a bit. I found that game a bit more engaging than Skull and Bones was.
Sea of Thieves I really enjoyed. I tried playing with my girlfriend and it triggered her seasickness immediately. Like, just like went green.
I was like, I don't get what you mean. And then when I was playing it once in a darkened room and that was my only visual reference, I was like,
and the ear starts complaining.
Well, I was often up in the crow's nest, so you don't get the full effect. But when you're on the bow of the ship and you're like, whoa, like, oh, I'm not feeling great anymore.
Yeah, and I feel like photorealism, it's a thing we've touched on before, but it's a conversation we can definitely have. Like, as a style, it's really interesting, and it has a lot of problems. The Uncanny Valley is a huge one. I mean, the amount of Assassin's Creeds and Fallout videos and Starfield, where everyone has those dead cold eyes. But we can talk about that other thing. That's
I mean, it can hinder things like that. It can also hinder gameplay. So I've played quite a few games recently that seem to really kind of emphasize the realism in lighting, but the only way that they seem to be able to do it is to you enter a cave and you cannot see anything as your eyes adjust. And then when you walk out of the cave, it's like,
does that. Your vision's blown out for a second.
Yeah.
It seems to be built into the Unreal 5 thing. I haven't really played with it. So
it might be, yeah. But yeah, I do wonder when they're playing through.
Cyberpunk 2077 first came out.
Oh,
and I didn't have a whole bunch of the bugs, but I found driving in tunnels impossible.
Because
the moment I came out of the tunnel, my screen would white out.
I knew what you were going to say. I was like, this.
Yeah.
I mean, it is brighter when you drive out of a tunnel, but if you've been driving in the daylight, your eyes are not that badly adjusted to the darkness.
Yeah. And I'm with you, Daz. Like when you're in the game, you'll notice this a lot when you think about games you played as a kid, whether you're as old as me or whether you're a Gen Z, right? The stuff you played 10, 20, 30, 40 years ago, in your mind has a certain thing that you watch videos of those games now and you're like, what?
Yeah, I found when you're in the game, it can be completely different from watching a game. And I've been playing...
Well, we're actually on that section now. What have we been playing? Look at that. We're on track.
I was trying to segue.
It's a good segue.
Yes, I've been playing quite a few games at the moment that don't have amazing graphics. I've been quite into some of the automation games, which has been quite eye-opening because I've actually been sat down with, like, I don't know why I need a prop, but with a pad and paper. And I've been sat down calculating, well, if I feed X into Y, I get Z out, and that needs to go into this thing over there. And if you've not guessed, but obviously one of those games is Factorio. Satisfactory, which is like 3D Factorio without the bugs. And one that I discovered, I was like, I've got to give it a go. Shapes. And like, it's shapes, but spelt with a Z on the end.
Yeah. I saw a video of this.
It's a really interesting game. You've just got to make and color shapes. And I was following the instructions on it, and it said, don't destroy your early factories. You really do need to destroy those early factories because you don't make those shapes anymore. But it was strangely compelling. It was like taking one of the main game loops of something like Factorio or Satisfactory and actually abstracting it out to just the pure essence without worrying about resources and everything else. I was like, this is quite compelling 20 hours later.
Yep. I mean, we've also been playing, you and I have both been playing with a few other people on Sundays, Barotrauma.
Barotrauma is a very interesting game.
Which has some very janky graphics, and it's sort of that paper 2D side-on thing. For those of you who don't know, it's based on the legendary Space Station 13, but slightly less so. And it's in submarines in space, and it's a bit like a submarine adventure in H.P. Lovecraft's Alien Planet.
Yeah.
So we had a situation where, there's a bunch of it. The submarine's been dragged by a monster, and my suit, I'm the engineer, I'm trying to fix everything. My suit isn't rated for that depth, and I just explode. And it was hilariously funny. And then I have to try and get back down to the ship in a rescue shuttle and all the rest of it. We've been playing a lot of that, and how have you been finding it?
It's been interesting. So usually I play Captain, which we really just usually play as pilot, right?
Right.
So the first week where we played it, I decided to try Engineer. Now, Engineer is one of those roles that develops much later in the game. And to begin with...
it didn't help that I was the other engineer, because we had quite a lot of people.
Yes.
And I've been playing Engineer a lot, so I was just telling Mikey, you're not allowed to do this anymore, so he never learns it.
But also, we'd be doing things like recycling the fuel rods for the reactor. And I would arrive knowing that the fuel rod was about to run out, and Jan's already taken it. Yep. And vice versa, I'm sure. And then this week I played a more action role. I played the security officer, is it? And I actually quite enjoyed that because there was stuff to do all the time, whether you're protecting the sub, firing the turrets, or escorting people. And so I feel like the game doesn't engage some of the other roles as
Yeah.
soon.
Well, we were talking about this the other day. Each role sort of requires a certain type of personality. Because I get very bored as a security officer, which is the role I've been playing the past couple of weeks, because I don't particularly enjoy shooting things. I'm not a particularly good shot, and running around the ship with guns when there's things to fix, I find myself just fixing things. For those of you who don't know, Barotrauma has the subs has functional wiring and circuitry. So all the wires actually plug into the right thing, and the circuits have specific nodes that the wires have to go to, and the circuits have to make sense throughout the submarine. There's junction boxes, and then the more power you're bringing through the reactor, the more heat it generates, the more you're pushing through the wires, the more they burn out. The junction boxes can only take so much heat or so much electricity for any repairing. And if there's salt water anywhere, everything's going to break really fast. Of course, it's a submarine.
Yeah.
And you're under attack. Like, there's going to be a lot of salt water. You've also got mechanics who are in charge of the hull and the machinery.
Yeah.
You've got doctors who run around panicking. You've got security officers, and you've got one captain. And then you can have assistants. It's a great game to play with a multiplayer crew. I was going to say if everyone's on voice, but we actually have one person who's non-vocal, and it still works great.
Yeah.
There is a solo mode, and it's not interesting.
Yes, I've tried playing it just to get like experience of the systems and stuff.
That's what you have to use it for, is an extended tutorial.
But it's no. Basically, the AI isn't up to it.
Right, and you could jump between the characters at any point. It was like, well, now I'm just doing 5 people's jobs. Like,
Job Simulator Extreme.
It can get very stressful. When it comes together, you feel fantastic, and even sometimes when it doesn't. And there are optional traitor roles, so you can turn those on. And they go from the ludicrous, like we played one where one crew member just had to stay naked for the entire round. That was his mission. And of course, we took one look at him and went, yep, they just kept on with our work, like not dealing with that.
That's just the normal day on our subs.
Not doing that. And they can go all the way to like overload the reactor and kill everyone.
Yeah. Which is surprisingly easy. You just dump a couple of rods in and you...
But it did get me to start playing Space Station 14.
You've had some fun with that.
Space Station 14 is the current Steam and non-Steam remake, which is currently in playtest. And you can go to Steam and you can apply for the playtest, and you'll hear from it in seconds. And it is a ridiculously janky, ridiculously obtuse, ridiculously complicated, ridiculously freeform role-playing chaos game. Space Station 13 started as a test atmosphere simulator. Someone wanted to create a realistic pressure and atmosphere and temperature simulator over volume. And the rest of the game came together with that. So you've got all the wiring, you've got the tubes, everything in the station is functional, and there's multiple different departments, and the game is entirely as fun as the people you're playing with. And if you find a group of people who enjoy playing the way you do, whether it's a high role play server or tons of chaos server, if you find that, you will generate amazing stories. But if you don't, you are going to have the worst possible time.
If someone wants to troll a game, they can do a ridiculous amount of damage in a short amount of time.
Yeah, and if everyone on that server is just like, we're all trolls, fine. Like, have fun. But if everyone else is trying to like role play, you've got one person just breaking into engineering, blowing up the reactor, wandering over to medical, murdering everyone, and then stealing the captain's uniform and declaring martial law. Like, it depends what you're in the mood for.
I've been doing a lot of that as well, Vertex. He's been trying a lot of games that he brought years ago, but never started. In fact, so I know there was Sunless Seas or something along those lines. Recently, I've been playing a bit of Sunless Skies, and I finished off Beyond the Steel Sky. Beyond the Steel Sky is the spiritual successor to Beneath the Steel Sky.
And it's an old point and click from the early 90s.
Yeah, I played that a few years back, and I actually really enjoyed it. It took me about half an hour for my brain to not see just horrible graphics, right?
Yeah. I mean, I was too young to appreciate it. It was very well written.
So Beyond the Steel Sky was a bit janky, but the humor and the writing and the story just kept it going. And yeah, I enjoyed that. And Sunless Skies was an interesting one because I often end up playing a game when my brain is at the end of the day, you're feeling a little tired, and you get to this point where a game can be a bit too much work. So with Sunless Skies, there's no dialogue as in speech that you listen to, audio. It's all reading. And if you're not in that space where you can kind of switch characters and read it in the style that's meant, a lot of it went over my head. And it's got a bit of a clunky UI to go along with it.
I found that with Sunless Seas and Sunless Skies is if you don't buy into the atmosphere and the pace, and it's meant to be a very slow, menacing game where people go mad. And
yes, I noticed you can't race around the map and collect things. It takes a while.
Yeah, and if you don't buy into that, it's just a top-down exploring shooter thing that's a bit slow. But if you do, it's fantastic. Like, you have to make that effort.
Yeah, the way that I found that to enjoy it was not be incredibly tired, but also when it came to the story, I'd read it aloud with a little bit of an accent. So if it was like, I'd be all posh when it came to like the captain speaking, and then when it was an engineer, I'd be a bit more gruff. And it was fun.
Yep.
Let me know if I should stream this.
I mean, I think you should. Yeah, I mean, games that give you stories like that, like Starbound, like Vertex was just mentioning that. Fantastic game. Like, genuinely one charming, lovely game. I really enjoy playing that multiplayer with people, although it is quite difficult to get people to sort of stay playing that for a long period of time, because
we started it, and then it kind of it's difficult because it's such a deep systems game that
it's a deep systems game with so many things to do, and there are plot points you have to get to. And if you're in a situation where one person is logging in while other people aren't, you'll log in and find like there's a huge base and a farm and everything's
what
done.
happened. Yeah, there's nothing for me to do.
I wanted to play.
You've just described how Ark is if I log in.
Yeah, it's very much like that, or Atlas. I've actually been playing Ark Ascended, which I'm enjoying immensely with some friends, except it just keeps crashing. And it's not even my machine. I'm running on GeForce Now because it doesn't. I mean, this is a 5-year-old box running Linux.
Oh yeah, you game streaming.
Run on this.
Yeah,
so I'm game streaming. So top of the range NVIDIA server, and it can't handle it. Like Ark just crashes every now and again, which you get round, and I'm an admin on the server. So when someone dies, it's like, all right, fine, teleport to there, go over to here, get your stuff back, but it can get annoying. It's beautiful though. I mean, the Unreal 5 engine is stunning, like really pretty. But I've been really enjoying PlayStation 14, like when it works. I was playing a game this morning. I was telling Michael, and despite my choices, it rolled me as the clown. The station clown is supposed to be a morale officer. You get shoes that squeak every time you walk. You get a little bike horn. You get a bunch of custard pies. You get a stupid wig. And almost everybody plays it as pure chaos troll. Like, cause everyone to slip, break into a thing, steal all the stuff, smash the lights, make everyone miserable. I decided I wasn't going to do that. So I spent the entire time trying to make people happy and only speaking in rhyme and bringing people snacks. Which was great.
You're a comic delivery driver.
I mean, I was.
A poetic
I was absolutely that. It was great, except while that's happening, there's traitors blowing up the station. So I'm trying to cheer people up, and suddenly over the radio you read, all of engineering are dead. We have no power. We have to evacuate. I'm like, would you like an ice cream?
This will cheer you up. I mean, it works for children. It might work.
And I'm trying to do it in rhyme at the same time. So there's like alarms going off, the lights are out. It's like, it is dark now as a dream. Would you care for an ice cream? I'm like, I think we should go now.
Oh, dear.
Yeah. I mean, there's a couple of settings that help with that, Daz. One of them is turn off the foliage interaction. So when you walk into a bush and it wobbles, turn that off. And the other is frame generation. Apparently, Arc just isn't handling that well.
There's a weird artifact. So I gave it a go. Always give Arc a go, a bit like Olives. That's a story for another day. But when you're on a flying creature, I think it's the frame generation. As the wings are doing this, all I can see is trails, like smearing up and down the screen.
That's always been true of Ark. Well, you're talking about Ark Survival, right? Not Ark Ascended.
The new one.
Okay, so you are talking about Ark Ascended.
Yeah.
That's always been the case for Arc, although it seems like the particle effects on the wings is causing a lot of crashes for people as well.
Yeah, there's some of that, and weirdly, it looks like the best way I can describe it is a pixelation effect across the clouds and the sky.
Yep.
It's obviously some sort of dithering, but it looks like a low resolution JPEG. Whatever's going on there, I do not like the aesthetic.
Maybe it's a magic eye.
It's annoying.
Yeah,
I basically went through all of my settings and turned them on and off one at a time until I found the one. I can't remember which, and I just left it off. I did want to talk about so my son is really enjoying Fortnite, and he often asks if I can play with him. And I used to be pretty good at first-person shooters.
Yeah, it's happening.
Yep. I'm not a big fan of long time to kill. So I've never been a fan of the Call of Duty series. I love Counter-Strike. Apex was kind of in the middle. But Fortnite is still bullet sponge territory. You can fire 100 bullets into someone and they seem to not be dying. And he keeps whooping my ass. It's gotten to the point where and some of it admittedly is I just don't play as much as I used to, sure. But the other one is he's getting quite good at the game.
He's getting quite good. Your reactions are starting to slow down a little bit.
Yeah.
It doesn't take much, just a little bit slower, and you're not competitive in those games.
I found that if I can hold him off at a distance, if we do a bit of a 1v1, if I can hold him off at a distance, I can outmaneuver, basically outthink him, right?
Right. The old Garfield
but
trick.
the moment he gets close, I'm a goner. I can't compete with his twitch movement and everything else.
Yep.
Cool.
I used to get that a lot with playing games with my friend Doug, and and he's about 8 years younger than me. And for a while, we were playing things like Unreal together, a bunch of other games like that. And he'd always get very upset when I was on his team, just kept missing. I'm like, just put it in the middle of the screen and click. It's not hard. It's like, you know what? Wait 10 years. He's just getting to that point now.
That's like, oh, I used to be so good. I mean, back in the day, one of my favorite games was Alien versus Predator, so the 1998-1999 release, where you could play as all three, and the alien would disintegrate in like 3 shots from any weapon when you were playing multiplayer. And I can't remember BT.
What team did you play?
Always Alien. Alien or Marine.
Played Predator.
All of the servers that I was on, we decided to ban the disc. The disc was just ridiculous, and proximity mines, because it made the game fun for no one, because you just camped in a corner and spam proximity mines. So I played at a competition. Now, there used to be, years ago, it's shut down now, but BT, I think, used to run kind of a gaming forum. If anybody can remember it, Daz might be able to remember it. And they ran yearly competitions, and I came second in the UK with the Alien versus Predator game. But it was really weird, because you would go into the game, and sometimes it would lag out and you would have to restart, but both of you would have to agree to restart. This is dial-up modem territory, by the way, guys. 56k for the win. And I remember that month, because I've been playing a lot, going through all the tournaments and everything. Despite I think I won about £60 worth of vouchers or something along those lines. But the phone bill was 400 quid that month. So I don't think my parents were too impressed with that one.
No. I mean, Survival Evolved, the bugs are definitely getting better. The crash is getting better, but I'm still crashing somewhere between once and 7 times a night. Like, it just depends. It might also be the modern map I'm using. It's unstable. But
it was pretty stable when I was playing it, so maybe they've added something that makes it wobbly.
It might just be the setup of GeForce's computers that don't work well, or the settings that they're using. Like, I'm having to go in and manually change the settings every time. But yeah, it is better. It is definitely better. And I have a lot of time for Ark. It's a game that I can very happily play for 3 to 6 weeks, and then I get bored and I play something else for a while, and then I come back to it. Like, it's one of those that you come back to every now and again.
I found the default settings were much more favorable in terms of picking stuff up this time round. I had it configured correctly.
Yep. And again, you have to sort of tweak the server settings to make the whole
That's
game.
correct, Vertex. Yep.
Yep. To make the game playable, because the default settings are designed for huge tribes on public servers. And nobody wants to sit there for 3 hours watching something tame.
No.
Just nobody.
Ever.
No. So yeah, that's what we've been playing. I am mixed about trying to get my friends to play Space Station 14 on a private server. Because on the one hand, you need a certain amount of people, depending on the map, to run a game. And on the other hand, the graphics are so janky. Like, it's the same graphics as Space Station 13, although some of the sprites have been done. The characters aren't animated. The sprites for the objects you hold are the same size as the characters. Like, there's a lot of jank in it, and there's a lot of systems to learn. And the interface is better than Space Station 13, but it's still bad.
Yeah.
Still bad. It doesn't have the same level of complexity as 13. Like, you can't target body parts and then hit them with a rubber stamp to put denied on their forehead.
I suppose it takes a while for, like I was saying earlier about when I played Beneath the Steel Sky, it took a while for my brain to adjust to the low quality. It was good at the day, but obviously not these days. Vertex says, I still remember when playing multiplayer meant bringing your PC around. I've got two stories with that. One, when my dad decided to get his own PC and we had two PCs in the house, that was great. I used to play Unreal Tournament with my friend. Yeah. And because he didn't have a PC, he was, I think it was PlayStation that he had at the time. It meant that it wasn't a fair match.
Right.
That's all, because he had no practice. But also, I remember at school we got, it was Quake working across all the computers. Nice. IT did not like us doing that, and IT didn't like me installing Apache 64, the really early 3D game, on the library system. They wanted to know how I got around it. I just went, you can press F12 or delete or something and enter the boot options.
Yep.
Oh, and you didn't password lock it. Oh, and from that moment onwards, I was kind of friends with the IT department. Mm-hmm. Yeah, Unreal Tournament. What's the one with
such a good game?
Okay, this was a deeply unfair because there was like
map?
Towers. Yeah, the two towers. I used to sit on top and snipe people with the railgun or whatever it was called. And there were 6 spawn sites along the side, and there were 2 at the back. And basically, if you spawned along the side and you were playing against good players, you were dead.
Yeah, although
unless it was low gravity. If it was low gravity, they could go.
Low gravity, that's different. But if you had snipers on both ends, they could kind of cover each other.
Yeah.
But then it just became 2 snipers, and everyone else can keep dying.
Yeah, pretty much. It was lots of fun.
Yep.
Oh, you're capturing the flag, are you?
Map. That was such a good game.
Now, I've seen Unreal that there's been sort of like rumors that they're redoing the old ones.
They screenshots and stuff like that. I just
nothing,
don't know what's going
nothing
on with
yet. But yeah, I mean, when I saw that, I was like, oh, that takes me back.
The Discworld mod. Oh my goodness, it takes me back. That was a really good one too. Like, that was really well made. For those of you who don't know, MUD is a multi-user dungeon that is a precursor to a massively multiplayer online role-playing game. Text-based, chat room text adventure game.
Go north.
Yeah, very much go north. But go north. Mikey the orc is here.
Oh.
Examine Mikey. I see whatever you're carrying, whatever your character is.
Don't touch me.
In your description. Right. They were great.
I like this role-playing. Let's go.
Right.
Ooh.
So yeah, I kind of want to get people into Space Station 14. It's still in playtest. It's very actively in development. But on the other hand, it is such a learning curve. And like, you have to just...
We were talking about it the other day.
One department. Yeah.
And I was like, okay, well, the problem with the big learning curve is I only have so much time that I got to play between family, work, and everything.
You would have to specialize in a specific department.
Yeah.
Right.
And pray that I like it.
Well, if you don't, you just try something else.
Yeah.
But like, each department has its own mechanics and own gameplay, and everything sort of interlocks. So even if you go into botany, you're just going to grow mutant plants and, supply those to the chef, and the chef gets to everyone else. Like,
little shop.
if you're not there,
Virus.
it's really hard to feed people.
Yeah.
But yeah, it's a hard game to teach.
And there would be like you would be like teaching a student like 7 students.
I mean, yes,
Essentially.
Yep.
Graph paper.
Oh, they shelved it in the end. Okay.
That makes sense.
Yeah.
I saw news about it, but I didn't follow along, and I was hoping that it would appear again at some point or be done. But yeah, I think that type of. So I recently, in recent memory, it was last year sometime, I was playing Quake Champions. Played a couple of rounds of that, and that was a lot of fun. It was back to the old fast pace, turn a corner, if you weren't looking the right direction, you're gone. And then you just carry on. And I was playing one game where the guy was blatantly cheating because wherever I was on the map, he was able to come at me. And at one point, I activated a special ability that enabled me to see him after I killed him, and I could see him sort of like pivot towards me and immediately go towards. I was like, oh. But I played it anyway because for me it was quite fun taking on a cheater and him not completely wiping the floor.
Sure.
Well, that's my idea of fun anyway. Challenge.
Not mine.
Let's go.
Go for it.
Yeah.
So yeah, I think that might be our show.
Well, it's not quite our show, but the lucky 12 that have remained until the end, we have a special treat for you.
Dun, 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 dun.
So Jan's been putting together some outtakes. Feel free to watch them as they go. But we will bid you good night, and thanks for tuning in.
Yep.
I'm not going to make any promises as to when the next live stream is, but...
And I'm not going to make any promises of when the next live stream is too. Right, what kind of sign off is that?
I don't know. Poor segue. All right, guys. Well, thanks for tuning in this evening. I will pop the outtakes on now, and we'll see you again soon. Take care.
Bye.
Bye. I've got to press this button now.
Press it.
Oops. Hello, you.
Just start to record. Physics Body 2D is a child of Collision Object 2D. Great, so let's just find that, because I need to show you what decision we need to make. I've gone blind. I can't see it, Michael. It's vanished. Help me, Obi-Wan. You're my only hope. There it is, right at the top. Why is that not alphabetical? And I need to set the velocity, which is a built-in property of a character body. You can see it. No way you can see it, actually. When the ball goes off the screen, it's just going to keep going forever. So let's try not to lose it. And it didn't work. Why didn't you work, you poo head? Wibbledy wobbly bibbledy bobbly hibbledy bobbly boo. That's my test.
Mikey had a very big poo.
Yep. Okay, so if this is correct, and I've pressed play, and everything's set up correctly, when we grab the bat... Ooh. It didn't work. Where did you connect to? No, not what I wanted. Misclicking is fun. Local to map. What's this? Hold control, click on it. Returns the map coordinates of the cell containing the given local position. We're only using one layer, we're using layer 0. You can check that by clicking on here. And our tile map is on, where is it? See if we can hit that as well. Press play. And now why didn't you work? Ball spawner. Meow, meow, meow. So back down to check brick type, and I'm going to put a conditional. If... and then I'm going to go through puberty again. It was so much fun the first time, I thought I'd do it just before I hit 50. That sounds like a fun thing to do. Serious teaching voice. If... Okay, maybe take a quick coffee sip. There's going to be a one long outtake, Michael. We're not, but
Wait, what does that mean? That makes no sense. What source ID are we using? We only have one source ID, so we'll just do the one. That doesn't make sense. I mean, it makes sense, but you can't teach it like that. Meow 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 meow. Oh, itchy nose, itchy nose, itchy nose, itchy nose. No, help! My nose is itchy. Yep. But for now, actually, no, that can't be. Go back, go back. No, disconnect. Wrong. Bad. In this video, we are going to go back to this screen and start all that again. Let's make a brand new scene. So how can we get labels to easily show up here? Well, to do that, I'm going to make a new canvas layer. What's a canvas layer? A nude? Nude? No. It's fully clothed. Let's move that one to the outtakes. Godot for everyone, after hours. I should have looked that up, looked that up, looked that up. I should have looked that up, but I'm baboon. I don't think it's working. Double check, double check. Emit signal bat size 1. Oh, I haven't connected it. I'm a professional. There's our multi-ball logo. Very nice. I've just moved the camera. I don't know why I did that. And I'm lost. Help! Help! Mikey, I lost it. Found it again. Everything's fine. And now I'm going to give this a script. So, brand new script. No. Oh. Right.